What does heaven look like now? A first glimpse of heaven was the garden. The word paradise means a garden or park reminiscent of the Garden of Eden. What did Jesus tell the thief on the cross? Jesus replied, "I assure you that today you'll be with me in paradise." Paul described an experience in paradise as being in the third heaven. The three heavens are the atmosphere, outer space, and the heaven of heavens. I know about one of Christ's followers who was taken up into the third heaven. He was taken up into paradise, where he heard things too wonderful to tell. A prophecy promises paradise to those who are overcomers in a church prophetically pictured as Ephesus, perhaps any church that has similarly lost its first love. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers or overcomes, I'll grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. The tree of life will be in the New Jerusalem, which will either literally or symbolically descend out of heaven to the new earth, when God will dwell with men. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb through the middle of the street of the city. Also on either side of the river, the tree of life, with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month. God sometimes speaks from heaven, but the Lord's messenger called out to Abraham from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." Abraham said, "I'm here." He let you hear his voice from heaven to instruct you. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. Then you came down on Mount Sinai and spoke with them from heaven. You gave them just ordinances and true laws, good statutes and commandments. And behold, a voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I'm well pleased." God sees from heaven. Look down from your holy habitation, from heaven, and bless your people Israel, and the land which you've given us, as you swore to our fathers, a land that flows with milk and honey. God looks down from heaven on the children of men to see if there are any who understood, who seek after God. The Lord looks from heaven. He beholds all the sons of men. And your Father who sees what's done in secret will reward you. God hears from heaven. Then hear from heaven where you live and forgive. Give your people what their actions deserve, for you alone know each human heart. Then the priests, the Levites, arose and blessed the people, and their voice was heard, and their prayer came up to his holy dwelling place, to heaven. What's in heaven? There's a throne in heaven. At once I was in the Spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven, with someone sitting on it. God's throne is in heaven. Micah continued, "Therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, with all the multitudes of heaven standing around him on his right and on his left." Jesus is in heaven, but he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven, and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, "Behold, I see the heavens opened, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God." There's a temple in heaven. After these things I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was opened. Is God restricted to heaven? But will God really live on earth? Why, even the highest heavens cannot contain you. How much less this temple I've built? But will God indeed dwell with men on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens can't contain you. How much less this house which I've built? Can a man hide himself in secret places, so that I cannot see him, declares the Lord? Don't I fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord? The Bible describes a so-called Queen of Heaven as a counterfeit, a pagan goddess. The children gather wood, the fathers light the fire, and the women knead dough to make sacrificial cakes for the Queen of Heaven. And to offend me all the more, they pour out drink offerings to foreign gods. We've promised to worship the goddess Astarte, the Queen of Heaven, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll burn incense and offer sacrifices of wine to her, just as we, our ancestors, our kings, and our leaders did when we lived in Jerusalem and the other towns of Judah. We had plenty of food back then. We were well off and nothing bad ever happened to us. This was indeed a tainted title. Treasures on earth will all fade, but we have a deposit of treasures in heaven that'll last for all eternity. But collect for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves don't break in and steal. Jesus said to him, "If you'll be perfect, go and sell what you have, and give to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me." Sell your possessions and give to charity. Make yourselves money belts that don't wear out, an inexhaustible treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near nor does a moth destroy. Are we humble enough to allow the Bible to differentiate between myth and mystery? Are we satisfied that God has so far left many of our questions about heaven unanswered? You decide.